Myself, Bruce Patrick, I am here. We have a couple of things that we need to discuss right away. The first one, we have a guest, the Honorable Kurt Wilmer from the state legislature is here. He is also a school district moderator, and we want to discuss the procedure for our school district hearing and our school district meeting. All right, Kurt, you have more information on than we do from the state. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know that. I don't have any information that isn't public.
Right.
But I am the moderator, and all the moderators will serve with this association. And that a couple months ago, the intention of that in terms of town meeting and
Give it one.
all of that. Oh.
Because we're recording now.
Yeah.
You can just take it out, sit down for a moment. For the 6 audience members, I think it's just as easy.
Okay, so, you recommend very well for the various department on the road, and I'm the school district moderator and your state representative. I think it's talk about how we conduct the school meeting, and everybody was listening to part of the comment as well. It's my understanding, and I have to tell you, whatever I say to you, I'm totally serious. No joke. But everything needs to be checked out in the ways. Because this year is such a torture to try and follow these things through, changes in the law, the executive orders, the emergency orders, and then figure out where we actually are. So I was looking at a couple of those today, and I couldn't even figure out if one exists vaccinated in 2020. I'm sure it does. So let's look into that. We're under the COVID emergency, and it's my understanding that under the COVID emergency, you can't have more than 50 people in place without, you can't have more than 50 people in place unless you're a church or a restaurant. That's it. That would mean that we can't hold in a long time with the school meeting. This can work. We're not going to 50 people.
Or if we have different locations within
It doesn't work at home. Well, stand outside. Hey. But right now, it's my understanding that the emergency order is no more than 50 people in place. Unless you're in church with social distancing, and not standing more in the restaurant with less than 50% capacity.
So what's your suggestion as moderator that how do we hold a district meeting this year?
So here we go. So we normally have a 2-part district meeting, and we can continue that. We just have the election in November. We know we can go into the town hall and those go on. The business meeting is fall. So it's my suggestion that we postpone the business meeting. Now, in order to do that, there's some procedures that have to be followed. And that includes notification, and I'm not sure we have to have, or you have to have, public hearing. But I think you do. To explain all of this. So, we'll see if this checked out in the hospital. I don't know if you can get some, yesterday or not. I know the municipal association is writing this moderator that they're talking about. Look at that, it's said to do what it says. In fact, I don't know what it says. We do it. Not have that.
When you went to that moderator's meeting, did they say how late you can postpone it to?
So the law says, and the word says, that in the fall, to a date certain. So before we go to the postponing business meeting, we have to decide on the date. And we can do that in time to let everyone know procedure is going to be running the town meeting. So that's probably, it's going to be around for March, right?
6th, I believe.
Six. So
I could be wrong, it's the first Saturday of March.
within the next 2 weeks. I think it's 7 days. You have to do the mailing, you have to have the hearing. You have to take public comment, and you have to discuss it.
We have a hearing of more than 50 people, sure.
No, you can do that before.
Okay.
And you might have
The
to-
hearing can happen if we're holding the business meeting the traditional way, just on the date. I thought that the hearing only next time if we were going virtual and we were doing the procedure. If you were postponing and just doing it the typical way,
Yes,
then that's what we did do.
that's a fair. So you see right now, I can do this. I'll spend more than 29. Everybody, like to do anything, food, you want. Where that decision is going to be made, actually want to negotiate and all the decisions, it's going to be any want. So step one of all of this is that everybody must hold 2 virtual meetings. One to inform lawyers of the proposed option fee procedures. The second to discuss the warrant article and finalize the warrant content. This is directly out of our bill 29 to the location. Now, the bylaw will really be some attention is before the first written information session is held. The governing body must be on notice to all its reporters at least 7 days prior to this virtual information session. Providing the date and times of the virtual session, access to information. So that's the one you get out of public comment. And then look on the second one, the comment period for the meeting. Another one to discuss the comments and the changes we may make. Oh, and reconsider. So that's how that goes.
I'm looking at frequently asked questions of the addendum, and that document you sent us for,
Yes,
and let's see if this answers any of the questions. We have a traditional town meeting with our business session scheduled for mid-March. Assuming large indoor gatherings are still automatic in March, can the meeting be postponed, even at this early date, to a date in May when we can hold outdoors? Answer: yes, under RSA 40:4A, if an emergency occurs, which the moderator reasonably believes may render use of the meeting location unsafe, the moderator can postpone the business or deliberative session at any time to the scheduled deliberative or business session. The Attorney General's office issued a memorandum in March 2020 indicating that COVID-19 pandemic constitutes such an emergency. So it says that, I don't know if that answers the question. It says that you can,
it says we can do it.
yeah.
Yeah, that RSA 40:4 has been on the books for a long time now. And the moderator actually has the authority to postpone the meeting at any time. Right up to 2 hours before. Right? But that's for an emergency situation. And in this one, there's a lot of data and what the study sort of about what happened. In this situation, we're in time, and then we can realize And last year, the House passed, House Bill 129, which deals with exactly this, that was the whole point of it. And it talks about how you can see voting, how you can do towns actually, and what we have to do. So it's my reading of that. It says we have to do 2 virtual meetings. That's all it is, my reading of House Bill 129. So it falls under the authority, without the House Bill, it should have RSA 44, and moderator to postpone. RSA 44 says must postpone to date certain. There you go.
So are you saying either do virtual, or have 2 virtual meetings, or we postpone?
Now, I'm saying if we're going to postpone, we should have the 2 virtual meetings. If we're not going to postpone, we're just going to have a school meeting here. And I actually thought about this. About how many people might come on, because we don't get like 300 people. But I was really pleased to watch it here tonight and see who goes to jail. Because if you keep it on, this is how we bring it back to space. 10 years we go. And you can do maybe 7 rows, all of the regular regions. With your own mom, 7 people. And it could be one of the persons. They would join around and say, family, people can choose the other. But not the other Americans won't do. So it would be much different than the more than people. And to me, that's just not a reasonable number. You have no time in the school and it's something on. So,
Kurt, could we move the location to a larger facility with a larger?
yes, we could move it, all issues, that does not need to be done. That's just a mostly matter. Well, the 50-person rule, that's something that the 50-person rule is up to His Excellency. They can put 100 people, 500 people, 1,000 people in the same school arena, but they don't. And same thing with all the sporting events. They can put people in, but they're not, because.
So if we go forward with our budget hearing and we post our warrants and everything, and then we wait for more guidance because everybody's gonna be going through this, and I would think the governor is either going to say, because of town meeting, if you can have the right spacing and people are masked, that you can have a larger amount, or then we're gonna have to do it virtually or postpone it. Right? We don't have to make a decision tonight, right?
Well, it would be nice to know if we're gonna go with the January 27th public hearing, which is usually not attended by many people.
No.
But we could do that virtually.
Yes. The only thing we really have to deal with is the business meetings. You could do the virtual budget hearing, and that would be acceptable.
And then you call the date on when we can meet for the business meeting.
We will do that.
With your
That would be we.
Yeah, yeah. But you have the ultimate say being the moderator according to the law.
Well, moderator in consultation with the governor's body stuff, so yes.
So we don't think we
If
can.
I have a trip planned in the hearing, so I'm scheduled for that.
So you don't think we can hold the budget hearing here? Is that what you're saying?
We could do the budget hearing, I believe.
Sure.
The budget hearing, I mean, we usually don't get more than, I don't think we've ever had 50 people at a
No.
budget hearing. So,
No, we have more people at the front table.
We've had them over here in the library for years now, right?
in the cafeteria.
Cafeteria, yeah. And maybe 20 people,
Right.
30.
And if we do it virtually too, people will be listening in instead of coming.
Oh, yeah, and there's plenty of room right here for 50 people to come socially distance, except you're not supposed to have 50 people.
Well, we've never even had 50, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
Except when the wall, we did.
Yeah.
You don't come all, don't bring that up.
Yeah.
So that's really what I have. So,
So what it looks like to us is we're gonna hold the same January 27th public hearing. And then determine with Kurt which date we'll be working, whether it's a virtual meeting and a vote, or whether it's postponed until the springtime.
yeah, and if we're gonna postpone it, I'm just throw this out right now, I think we should go with it.
Give it what?
I think we should go to May or in June,
Okay.
right? And I'll just tell you that provision has been made for all those questions that you're gonna have about, well, people get elected and can they go to office, or they get sworn in, and all that's involved, and us all on 29, there's procedures for all this to happen. There's procedures that authorize the school board, because your budget goes until June anyway, so you won't go past your budget. But if you do go past your budget year for whatever reason, there's procedure in the law that authorizes you to spend the same amount as last year on the same things without any questions being asked until the budget is approved. So all those things are covered in the appropriate pieces of paper that cover this.
So as long as we stick to the dates that we need to have things completed by legally, like the warrants, everything, we're leaving our options open until the last minute. Because we know that we have to have before, 30 days before our district meeting, we have to have things posted.
Correct.
So as long as we get right down to near that time, we'll have more information. And then we can decide, are we postponing this or?
I think it would be wise for you to put in your community calendar article and somewhere else that you're thinking about this, and because of the order of not having more than 50 people, we're likely to postpone.
Have you contacted the town?
Well, I did,
Okay.
and the answer I got back is, well, we don't have a moderator right now, but we're thinking we're just going ahead with what we're going to do. So that's on my, I got that last week, but I only read it tonight. So it's on my agenda to get back at that and talk about, because they're gonna have a couple hundred people. Right?
Well, the town's always a larger meeting than.
Yeah. So there's not a facility around that's gonna take that, plus the 50 order. So I don't think we can have theirs either, but they don't even have a moderator to postpone it now.
So Kurt, were you also suggesting that we take this information and contact our attorney to?
However we decide to go forward, yes, that's exactly what should happen.
Should we contact our attorney now for her input, or should we wait?
So a few minutes ago, I said that's according to my reading. So my answer to you is yes, right now. Right? Because, I mean, and they all should, every school district in every town is working with this right now, so it shouldn't be a strange question at all.
Is there a downside? I don't necessarily know there is one, but is there a downside to having such a gap between the budget hearing and the actual vote?
We
Or
pretty
is
much,
there an advantage to postponing?
we pretty much get the same questions at both meetings, so I don't see a downside myself.
Because once we have the budget hearing, it's all locked in, correct?
Well, we have a few days after that to make adjustments. It's 30 days before the district meeting that we have to have the warrants posted.
It can't be less than 30 days.
Right, so this is a good question for the attorney, right? Because when you're talking about posting of the warrant, conduct of the meeting, the limitation on times to change the warrant, that's all going to play into this however it goes. So, yeah, we all need to know that we have our ducks in a row the way we go forward, that's all I'm saying.
Do you want to call the attorney?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we will contact our attorney to get further information on the procedure. I know that you have ultimate say with us on when it's gonna be, but would like the legal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, so it's my opinion, which is was just about as much as anybody else's, that the government's not going to put these emergency orders until June. So I would be looking at a date early June.
Okay,
It's true.
all right. Well, Kurt, we thank you for coming in
Thank you
and
so
giving
much,
us
Kurt.
a little bit of clarification. Does anybody else have any questions for Kurt at this time? Thank you for
Oh,
representing.
Don does.
Just while you're speaking with the attorney, I don't know the timing of your issuing contracts here in the district, but it seems as though typically you need to have the money in the bank.
Yeah, you are so right on that.
That's a good point, yes. Yeah, so we would have to figure out about we'd have to know that everything was approved before we can get contracts. That is a good.
Well, according to what Kurt said, the governor, or the state allows the same amount to be spent next year as this year if we don't vote on it right away. Is that
Well,
correct?
yeah, the hard thing about, and again, this is a good question for your attorney.
Yeah.
So my understanding of how this is going to actually work is we stop paying SAU fees and payments to the SAU. And that money would then be free, if you will, that is free from encumbrance and could be used to say pay the overhead costs that we're going to undergo as soon as that starts. That's my thought. But the law, the way I read it, says you can spend the same amounts of money for the same purpose, and maybe for the same purpose as the administration of the school. Yes, they do. I don't see why that would be different.
Yeah.
But then I'm not aware.
All right, so we'll get our attorney involved with that.
Okay, thank you, Kurt.
Anybody else? Kurt, thank you for coming. Before we go on to the next thing, did you, Mr. Friedman, speak now?
Sure, John George. Okay, we had an email follow-up by one of our community members, I don't see them here, Jessica Grant, and she was asking us about our process, and our board spoke about this at our last meeting about what would our process be about our principal search and how we would do this. We've received a lot of applicants and so forth. And so we said, John, could you please offer some suggestions? What would you do? And he has a plan, which he shared with us, some of us earlier, and he'd like to share it with the community.
So good evening and thanks for this opportunity. What I would propose to do would be to come to you next time with a full timeline that describes the time from February 1st through June 30th and the filling of these positions. That would involve a number of separate actions, of course, because we have separate positions. I would suggest that for the high-profile positions, specifically positions such as school principal, the director of student services, the business administrator, that community be involved in the decision as well. By community, I mean folks in the school as well as the greater community. And I've worked with processes and I've offered to facilitate these if I can be of help through the winter and in spring. I would also describe the process, which would be a little bit different from perhaps a typical process and a little bit different from the process that I engaged in my hiring here. But I think this process for each of the positions, particularly those high-profile positions, don't need to take more than say 2 months, 2.5 months or so. I think it can be done relatively quickly, particularly in the principal's case, because we already have the applicants and resumes and background information. It would include some different steps, though. It would involve assembling a committee. I would suggest that a committee be assembled of approximately 12 people, could go 15, could go 18 if it was absolutely necessary. And again, I'm happy to facilitate this, not as a voting member, but as a facilitator, as a consultant planner. That group would spend some time in clearly thinking about what sort of person we need for this position, for each of these positions. And so this goes beyond the job description. It goes to the person themselves, the knowledge, skills, and content that they bring to a job description. And there are interview strategies which would allow us to dig out that information from the various candidates. So, for example, we would people differ in a lot of in different ways. So, one way people differ is their technical knowledge. So, if somebody came into the interview process and had background in the literacy program that school was using, that may seem like a very attractive candidate, but that kind of stuff is easy to teach. The kind of stuff that's hard or impossible to teach are those values that we think are really important in people with whom we interact. So, for example, would courage be an important quality for the new principal? Would the ability to be politically savvy, understand people, would that be an important quality? And so we would go through a process where we would tease out these sorts of qualities. We'd also tease out qualities relative to fit. So what kind of qualities would be necessary to get along with this board? I don't know the answer to that yet. What kind of qualities would be important in this community, et cetera, in terms of knowledge, skills, and talents. We'd also want to take a look at different roles that a principal and these other positions would play. So, for example, we would want to identify what are those key roles, what are those top priority roles right now for that principal to have. So is that principal is being a coach of teachers and students, is that important to us? Is being a financial expert important for this role? So we would go through and identify and really work through probably a couple-hour sessions to identify those specifics of that we would be looking for. The beauty of the committee is that you have the multiple representatives there at the table. So I would presume we have 1 or 2 board members at least. We need faculty and staff, of course. We want community members, certainly, parents, perhaps non-parent community members, perhaps a political leader from the community. So you want to have a broad base of individuals who would participate in this process. After we have the criteria identified, we could then go ahead and screen the applications that we've received and conduct telephone interviews, screen telephone interviews. And so you probably have had the experience I've had where somebody's looked terrific on paper and you know 30 seconds into the interview that this just isn't going to work out. So telephone interviews allow for a one-on-one conversation that will permit us to sort of screen out those sorts of folks who just aren't right for this job right now, and screen in those sorts of folks who are perhaps possible candidates. I see that as being possible if we have a committee established by the beginning of the month. I see us possibly doing that within the month of February. A little into March, perhaps. I would shoot for getting it done in February. Then, of course, the rubber meets the road, and we invite finalist candidates into interview. Could be 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on what the committee selects, and would be involved in an interview process that would be a little bit different from, again, the process that I was involved in. We would have in front of us those qualities, those roles that we expect this individual to fulfill, and then we question that person, have that person tell us stories about his or her experience that will reveal to us whether they exhibit those knowledge, skills, and talents or don't. And the process is lengthy. It's probably a 2-hour process. I've been in some of these interviews where they're more like 3 hours, where we very atypically ask this person to do most of the talking in the interview. So we really get to know this person and his or her experience. The process is called guided storytelling, and it grew out of critical incident reporting in World War II, where people in emotionally charged situations acted in one way or another, and the critical incident interviews then allowed the post-incident process to go forward to learn something from the interview. It's a very powerful process, and it's a process that those who have interviewed have really enjoyed because they're talking about themselves. And it's a process that reveals a good deal to the interviewees. It wouldn't be arranged, it wouldn't be a big gang interview. We would have 2 people basically doing the interviewing. in the, with the COVID restrictions, it's almost ideal that we would have a Zoom situation, but would have other committee members either present but not, in the view line of sight, or not present and listen to a recording later on. It's a very thorough interview process, and it's a successful interview process. We then have an evaluation meeting where we take a look at the candidates, the finalist candidates. We see what each of them has offered us or can offer us, and go through additional final interview, screening activities. Of course, reference checks, just to make sure that there are no red flags that we didn't pick up in our interview, and you almost always will pick them up anyway. And as well as a chemistry check. So you want the person to be available to the faculty and staff, to community members, and we could talk about how that would work out in the era of COVID. But you certainly want to have your teachers and your support staff, your parents, sort of get a sense of each of the candidates who we bring forward. And then we would finalize it by having the committee make a recommendation to the board, and the board finalize a decision. And as I said, I'd like to come next time and lay it all out. This is sort of the way we plan these things, and sort of look at the weeks and the tasks and just sort of check them off as we go along. And it works pretty well as long as the weather doesn't interfere. But of course, we're New Hampshire folks, so we can get past all of that nonetheless. But it's a terrific process, and I'd be happy to talk a little bit more about it. One of the things I suggested to Misty and Debbie is that perhaps I bring additional information that the board could either do this at a board meeting or set up another time, if you'd like, for me to go through the process, and so folks have an idea, who might be interested, have an idea what they're signing up for, what their time commitment is, et cetera, et cetera. So that's, I'm happy to answer questions.
Well, I think the first question is, with the first step would be posting for a committee.
Yes.
And when would you suggest we do that?
Right now.
Right now, okay.
Right now.
So that'll go to the superintendent's office. They will post for the committee and put it in as many public places as they can to get members of the public, as well as the board and the teachers and the staff.
Faculty and staff here as well.
Right, correct, okay.
That's perfect, great. And John, you want emails, and we can have an email to the school board, and we can share them with you, forward them to you, or?
Yeah, we can do that. I think if one person has them, eventually the school board, I would think, would appoint this group as a subcommittee of the board, so that the meetings would be posted. It would all be properly done by the legal requirements, and the board would maintain their authority in establishing a subcommittee. If you had, for example, you had 50 people show up, that would be tough. Maybe we could do it. It would be tough, but let's see what we get. It may require you reaching out to additional folks. You do want to have balance. As I mentioned, when we were talking earlier, we don't want to have a committee entirely made of teachers. Not that there's anything wrong with teachers, just as you wouldn't want to have a committee entirely made of second grade parents. So you want to have some variety. You want to have variety in the committee.
So maybe we can have the posting, but we're looking for community members, both parents and non-parent community
Yes.
members, as well as staff members.
Yes,
Okay, so we
that's
can,
what I would do.
because I think sometimes people feel they don't have kids in the school, they don't want to be part of
Yeah, good.
it. Okay, that's great. I just have to say, John isn't even on board yet. He just signed his contract. The ink isn't even dry. We just appreciate it.
He signed his contract tonight, and I signed it.
So I just thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Really, this is unbelievable.
And I'll prepare this and bring this next time. Now, do you have packets that go out in advance of your meeting? Should I get you something to the SIU to go out in advance
That would be perfect.
with the board?
Sure.
I
He's
didn't
gonna
catch
type
what you
something
said.
up.
What's that?
He would type
I can
something
put-
up, a process, and put it in our packets.
Perfect.
So when do they go out? The week, give me a deadline.
Well, we usually, if our next meeting is the end of January, when's your next meeting?
It's the public hearing.
January 27th. So
The
that we
public hearing.
probably would have the package would be mailed out by the 20th.
Okay, yeah, well, we get
If
it.
that's our
Okay,
budget hearing night, that might not be the night to do a long presentation.
Right. That's how you did it tonight.
yeah, it doesn't have to be that long. And please, feel free to tell me that you've had enough. If I had too long.
It would be good to have a little presentation like that, just that we're gonna do this, we're forming this committee, and this is the kind of representation we want. Because you get more, people are most interested in what's going on with the school will be here.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Now that your contract is signed, and whether the ink is dry or not, is it premature to give him a Strafford email address?
I suppose so, yeah.
Would you suppose it's premature, or you suppose it's okay?
Well, well, I don't know, he will be an employee as of July 1, but he could be a committee member as right now. That's what he,
Yeah, if you appoint me as facilitator, I think we'll be fine.
right.
We would want to have communication.
I think the next step would be to pick the 2 board members for that committee right now as we go on. So we will know who the contacts are.
And this same big committee that you're talking, I say big, I mean 15 isn't huge, but is for all the high profiles. It is not a group of 15 for each of the high profile positions.
Boy, that's a good question. I was thinking they would be separate groups, probably, but they don't need to be. I guess it depends on how many you get out, and it also depends on how much people want to commit to these processes. They don't need to be. I was thinking that we would begin with the business administrator and the principal, and then cycle in the next positions, the financial manager, the special ed director, assistant principal, and those others as we go along. I had laid them out at home, but I left my scratching at home. But it would get everything done by July 1st in a time frame that I think is appropriate for each of the searches, and it will allow us to do it twice if we need to for both the principal and the BA position.
All right.
I'm interested.
Okay, on the board, is there anyone interested to serve in this position besides Erica right now? We should have 2 members, not a quorum.
I'll do it unless Mr.
Misty?
Debbie, we just got.
Gary, you interested?
I'll do it if nobody else wants to.
Well, I think Debbie and Erica want it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if you would.
I'll yield.
I will also yield for that, so.
If each of the committees has a different makeup, and you can reshuffle it, if you had an interest, for example, in another position.
Right, oh, yeah, absolutely, but
Not a big deal.
for this committee where we have the applicants already.
Yeah.
The date is closed, we have the applications.
Yeah.
And we're gonna post and move forward.
Yeah.
Then I think the 2 board members, okay, I'll make the motion that we have Debbie and Erica as the principal search committee board members.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. I don't usually make a motion, but I went ahead with this one to expedite it here a little bit.
Are we at discussion?
Was that
Are we calling this just a principal search committee, or is this, again, it's?
principal search committee?
Why don't you
Well,
call,
it's more than the principal.
I think
You
the
gotta
put it in.
position may include, we may need to include people's financial.
I think it's principal.
I think this is principal because the BA
Okay,
is
so
going
this one is just.
That's the applications we're gonna review for this, it would be the principal search.
right, that's where we need to start.
Right.
That's where we need to start.
Okay,
And I think that's where we start, and if you decide you wanted to have the same committee go along, that would be fine, but it's hard to imagine that the same, for example, second grade parent would also be interested in the
Right.
BA position.
Okay, so we will also charge the committee with the 2 board members as well as our coordinator, Mr. Freeman, to find the committee, the rest of the committee members, and to charge them with the same act.
Right, okay, thank you.
So we got to put that to a vote. Kerry?
Yes.
Misty?
yes.
Myself, yes. Erica?
Yes,
Debbie?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did that with those members last voting for themselves, so they are now on the committee. The principal search committee is now formed with 2 board members, and Mr. Freeman is the coordinator, Superintendent Freeman.
And we will make sure that that's
I don't know how to say
posted.
that.
We'll talk, yeah.
Future
Soon to be,
superintendent?
the soon to be,
Soon to be superintendent.
soon to be. We'll contact the SAU to get that posted. tomorrow for the
Okay,
committee
great.
members. And then we could also put something out that more discussion as far as the process. We'll have a short, maybe presentation at our next meeting.
Yeah, but I can give the timeline, and I can give approximate time commitments for each of the steps as well,
Okay.
so folks have an idea.
So Debbie, will you and Erica come up with the posting?
Yes,
Would you have that posted then?
yes.
Since you'll know your timeline a little bit and you'll know how many members that you want to have.
Okay.
Right.
So like a 2-week posting?
I was just gonna say, when would we like it?
Yeah, I would say leave it 2 weeks and, let folks know that next time, more information will be provided at the board meeting, provided that there's time. We expect to be going up and working by early February.
And if you, John, have that timeline done beforehand,
Yes.
if people aren't sure about the time commitment, we can maybe have the SAU forward the time commitment to them.
I'll plan to have that for next Wednesday when your packets are mailed out.
Okay.
And you
Yeah.
can even post it online if you want to.
I would say if people are interested, they should probably submit, because it would be easier to pull out if they get shocked by the time.
There you go.
Then they can't get back in that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay,
Right?
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
John.
Mr.
I
Freeman.
just can't thank you enough.
That's amazing. Thank you.
good. It's a good start. Okay, we're going to move on to the approval of school board minutes. 1/5/2020, public and non-public. The chair would entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the school board minutes from January 5th, public and non-public.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I know there are a few changes, I believe.
There are I don't know, Amelia, can you hear us? I don't know if you can hear us, Amelia. I don't know if you were able to hear us well in that meeting, but there are so many pieces, so many discussions left out of the minutes. I really think that you need to go back to the tape and listen to it again. I can go through, there's just,
So do you want to table until,
I would table it. They need to be redone.
do you have
Do you want to do
Amelia?
the edits that we
Yep.
have now? and just-
Available to speak?
Done?
Amelia, can you hear us?
If you want to add, I just, left my half of it.
I know, I just didn't know if it was easiest for this go.
She's on the phone, she's unmuted.
I don't know
Amelia?
if it's easiest, because you're right. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
She wrote into the chat that she can hear.
Okay, so Amelia, we're tabling the minutes to have you relook at them for the 1/5 meeting. Deb says she has numerous changes and would like you to take another look at those before we approve.
She says she will.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of discussion is left out.
Is she able to hear us clearly now for this meeting?
Yes.
To continue for this one? Okay, good. Thank
Yep, she wrote into the chat, Bruce, that she will go back and listen to the YouTube again.
Perfect, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, so we'll table that. We do have non-public, but I'm moving that to the end. Now it's time to go with Mr. Waring and the business administrator's report and for the tweaking of the budget for the 27th hearing. Is Mr. Waring there tonight?
No, Mr. Waring is not here tonight. He is attending another district's public budget hearing.
Okay.
I'll be glad to take notes.
Well, first,
Mr. Chairman, there are a couple of items that need to be discussed in non-public that may have an impact on the budget.
okay, we'll discuss those at the end, like I said, but right now,
Okay.
first of all, thank you for putting in such a large format so that it's easy to read for us. Did any members have any changes that they need to put into the budget at this?
But, you know what, to be honest with you, we just got the hard copy
Yep.
today right for the meeting. I didn't get a chance to look at it because it wasn't in our packet.
Okay, Monica does have some changes that'll be discussed in non-public that could affect it. However, at this point, unless there's any major changes, we'll look at this later and go through it. All right, so we'll move on from the budget. At this point, we did the public hearing discussion, school district meeting discussion. Before we go on to the superintendent's report, We did receive a letter from the SEA the other day that needed a response. I do have a written letter for the SEA for the response. Who's the representative? Is it you, Audrey? So I do have 2 copies of this if you would like.
You want me to come get it?
Yes, please. And you can look at it and see if you want to say anything at public comment.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
There you go. Thank you. All right, so we're moving on to the superintendent's report. Monica, you're up.
Thank you. Aaron, if you'll make me a co-host so I can screen share.
Yep, you're all set.
Thanks. All right. Mr. Chair, can y'all see my report?
We can, yes.
Okay.
Before you go on, I didn't want to take away from Linda. She's up next to go over her items that you have up there too. So just have a hold on till your report's done.
Okay. Do you need for me to hold on?
No, why don't you go ahead? I looked
Oh,
at it
okay.
earlier. It's not that lengthy, so you may go.
Okay. It just takes a minute to get going on the Zoom. Thank you. We do not have any new nominations, resignations, or stipends for tonight's meeting. I do want to say that it was so heartening and just happy to listen to Mr. Freeman's plans for the principal search. I think that SAU 105 is in wonderful hands, and I just get more excited by the day. That was wonderful to hear. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Dale Transportation has responded that they are willing to accept the counter that was extended on the proposed contract extension. And I do have a recommendation for the school board that you accept the extension for 1 year. And then as you launch SAU 105, negotiate the next contract to go into fiscal 23. You may want to reserve a vote until after you've had non-public discussion.
Okay.
The waste management contract is coming up for automatic renewal on January 18th. There is no rate change proposed. It's a level contract. If there were to be a change in rate, it would be if the consumer price index is increased. That only happens once per year if it happens. We currently have in quarantine or isolation 9 staff and 39 students. And our COVID transmission, community transmission statistics, these are updated from 5 p.m. tonight. Statewide, our number of new cases is continuing to rise. The total positivity rate is slightly lower than it was yesterday. I do want to make sure everyone pays attention to the very low hospitalization rate, which I think is important. In Strafford County, our test positivity rate is still exceeding the state's, as is the number of new cases. However, there have been 0 hospitalizations, new hospitalizations over the past 2 weeks. The most recent report that has been processed by the state of school-based cases was only processed December 14th. So they are lagging in updating our statistics. It's not that we're not reporting them. Our school nurse is reporting them. The state just hasn't updated them. We do have a substantial rate of transmission based on only the number of new infections. With regard to the impact we're currently experiencing in the school, we are teetering between low and medium on the transmission within the school facility, the number of cases confirmed in the school. Our student absenteeism is still in the low range, but our staff capacity remains strained. So in the matrix for decision-making that is provided as a guideline by the Department of Health and Human Services, when a school has a medium level of impact and community transmission is rated substantial, the general recommendation would be for remote learning. However, I am comfortable, as I said in our last school board meeting, with the school continuing to remain in the hybrid schedule, and I will explain why. The guidance document and the decision-making matrix are not absolutes. They have been provided to school boards and superintendents for guidance only. That written guidance document was updated November 20th, and the document points out that in some circumstances, it's appropriate for schools to be less restrictive than what the matrix suggests. And we meet, the superintendents meet regularly with the commissioner. The school nurses meet with Dr. Chan. Occasionally, Dr. Chan sits in on the superintendent's call. And we are reminded each time that it is a local school board decision as to what kind of schooling model that we use, and that they recommend that we go as least restrictive as possible. And for me, the really important thing to remember is that there has been very minimal transmission overall, nationally and statewide, in the K-12 settings. There have not been large outbreaks occurring in schools. And Strafford School continues to have, although we have been open for face-to-face learning since August, we have the fewest number of COVID confirmed cases in staff and students of any of the 3 school districts in the SAU. I believe that we are doing what we need to do. I think that Mr. Heselton and the custodial team have done an outstanding job with cleaning and disinfecting. And I'm very comfortable remaining in our current schooling model. And we also received confirmation in writing by the New Hampshire School Board Association that schooling, the model for the schedule is a local decision. And I would be glad to take any questions if the board has questions for me.
Any questions from the board at this time?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Nice report, Monica. All right, so let's move on then to Linda Osborne.
I am here.
There you go. How about you?
So you want to talk about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. It wasn't extended when Congress did their final 1231 program that they passed. You have some people that have used this before. One of the major reasons is they're sent home for quarantine, and they were able to use 80 hours and be paid for that and not use their own sick time. The other major reason is if they're caring for a child that's in a school that is shut down, or a hybrid, and they have Fridays off, for example, and they have to report to work, then they would be able to stay home with their child and, again, not use their sick time. There are limits on both of them. And some some schools have extended it through March 31st, hoping to get through the final result or final time for quarantining and schools closing down. So I really just wanted to ask if we were going to extend it, or you wanted to extend it, or we'll just follow that this program has expired. And if people are out for quarantining or for caring for their child because of their school closed or their daycare not available, then they would have to use their own paid personal time or use unpaid time.
I think we'll discuss that in non-public session.
Mm-hmm.
superintendent when we go into that tonight, and then report out afterwards.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, now, Linda, you had 5 or 6 topics that you wanted to discuss tonight that was sent to me on an email. Monica, you sent that?
Yes, those are items, Mr. Chairman, that need to be discussed in non-public.
Okay. Okay, so we'll be looking to go into non-public very soon.
Thanks.
Okay? Anything else, Linda, from your office?
No, not right now.
All right, now, you know we need it in a few minutes, okay. All right, well, let's finish up the rest of the agenda, and then we'll move into non-public session. Anybody with correspondence and presentations?
The only other correspondence we had was from Jessica Grant. She wrote an email asking about the process for the principal search committee, and I think we just answered that.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
We did receive correspondence from the SEA with a detailed letter asking for a response from the board. I have given the president of the SEA a detailed response, 2-page written response back to her. New Hampshire School Board resolutions, Erica? We did discuss them last time, we voted on them.
Yeah, and so I didn't ask for them to be put back on, so.
Okay.
I have nothing new.
Nothing new, okay, good. Enrollment report is on page 22 of our agenda. Does anybody have any questions on the enrollment report? Hearing none, okay.
This is good to have, just to double check our numbers for our budget for the CBNA.
Right.
There is that.
And then, which is not on our agenda for some reason, but it's the principal's report, so I didn't want to skip Ms. Bulgarian on anything that she may have.
I have a fantastic, very short, very positive, upbeat principal's report that Aaron has. Because he's a rock star.
Okay,
I spent a lot of time on that first page. Fantastic.
nice job.
Well, you know, I do it.
I don't need to be there.
So actually, we get to go first.
All right.
So we did have the discipline report, so I'm gonna let Ms. Russell do that.
But there is a slide for that.
There is a slide.
We 16, yeah, it's a little bit challenging to read from this distance. 16 total office referral incidents since the December 14th, or beginning on December 14th, and running through today, this morning, in fact. And you can, they're primarily in cohorts, again, like I discussed with you the last time we gave a report, or disruptive behavior in the classroom. And I think it again speaks to some of that the cohort fatigue, but they're just tired of being together all day, every day.
I'd like to commend the kindergarten, it looks like 6th grade and 8th grade.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Zeros across the board, thank you.
Yeah, kindergarten really did a fabulous job, as did the 6th and 8th grade. So who knew? Our big kids and our little kids are really knocking it out. So.
Nice job.
So Aaron, you go ahead to the next one. Just wanted to list out some good things that are happening in Strafford. I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in some of the stressful things that are going on. So a couple of really good things that we wanted to recognize. We were able to do the spelling bee in large part because of Ms. Saya and Ms. Clinch. So they are able to do that. We will have the trophies and they will be doing that next week. So excited that we were able to pull that off. So thank you, Ms. Clinch and Ms. Saya. The next one, stay tuned for information about an upcoming plan to build an enhanced school and community connection for Project Inspire coming soon. Our school counselors are coming up with a fun way for us to all sort of come together and inspire one another. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be seeing that very soon. And just wanted to thank the generous group of donors that were able to help out the families over the holidays. There were lots of people in our community that were able to make the holiday special for some families that really could use some assistance. And the last one's just a nice fun slide. If you have not gone to the Strafford School website, it has a facelift. It has been updated tremendously. It is updated daily. Take a chance, take an opportunity to go and look at it. It's got a lot of new information. We do update it daily. We have useful information, fun facts, inspiring quotes and images, pictures that make you smile. We have added a link for administration called KP and the AP, which all the staff know. That's how we sign all of our administrative things. That page is under construction, but we'll start having administrative newsletters and other information on there. So if you have not been to the webpage lately, please visit it. There's a lot of great stuff there. And that's all positive and all good, and that was it. We are. Yes. Awesome.
And I'd like to say that you are correct, these times are challenging, and there's really nobody to blame out there for anything that's happening in the world. It's just the way things are, but to give to our kids some sense of normalcy of coming to school and having contact with other students and not being just sitting home and listening to a computer. We thank you for having those kids and all the staff members for teaching our kids and trying to be as normal as possible in this challenging time that we have right now.
Yes, thank you.
It really is important for the health and well-being of all the students.
Yes, their emotional health.
You two are doing a great job as well as the staff, so thank you so much. Yes, Erica.
I just need to, I'm sorry, something you said at the end of the enrollment report.
Yes.
I'm just wondering how many of these home education numbers are in response to COVID? Like you said, going remote, they have signed up to homeschool, and that they might be. So if we're looking at budget for next year, some of these 7th, 8th graders, I don't think we had 7th to 8th graders typically. Someone, just for budgetary reasons, would they go to program? It's all I'm at.
Oh, I should say, I believe, and I can go back and check, I believe the large majority of them are COVID related.
And I think that we normally, a lot of kids do, even if they're homeschooled through middle school, they go to high school.
Sure. I'm just saying that these numbers are not necessarily reflective of how many will be homeschooled next year.
Right. I just wanted to, the reason I brought it up is because I'm very concerned about that number and that line. I want to make sure it's accurate.
For sure.
When we have enough budgeted.
For sure, so maybe we need to reach out to the schooling 8th graders about.
Well, I think we just include them.
Okay.
We just include them.
Right.
Because most likely.
Right.
Sure.
Sure.
We can get, I mean, at least things that we know, we can get those numbers in terms of what we know was in response to the COVID and the change in dynamic.
The discipline report, can we next time have it in our packet?
Speak up a little bit.
We have it in our packet.
Yes.
I just like to actually have a copy of it, because if we ever look at it for other reasons, we need to try.
Would you like the current, I have the last 2 or 3 already, I can send them to you digitally.
That would be great.
It'd be nice to have them in the minutes as well.
Right.
Typically, when we do them, I hand them to Amelia and she does put them in the minutes in the future. And we certainly can do that. I think it's difficult, and I had asked for permission from Dr. Henson for our principal's report, just because giving information, if I provide it last Wednesday, then that information is really outdated by the time. So I can do it earlier if possible. It's able to be more updated and more accurate.
So maybe hard copies first at the meeting, and then we'll send the electronic copy, when we're at the meeting, send it to Amelia. That's what I do with letters.
Okay.
If we get emails, because she'll just cut and paste them.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? We'll open it up to public comments after we do the future meeting dates. Our next date will be the 27th, where we will present the budget. Now, when we present a budget on the budget hearing, changes still can be made to the budget after
Okay,
that.
that's what I was trying to ask earlier, if there's
Oh, no.
the gap be a problem, so we can still, that's what I was trying to get
The
at.
board can still adjust amounts up until the date of the.
We've done that.
Oh, we've done it before, yeah, with different things
So
that,
the budget is a warrant article, so there's a date that the warrant articles have to be in. So we can, we
As
have.
long as we haven't posted the warrant article, we can still make it.
Yeah.
It's not the hearing, it's actually the posting of the warrant article that triggers the stop.
right, the warrant article amount is read the day of the district meeting. The school district meeting, and that can be adjusted up and down by members of the floor or by us. Members of the floor on a vote, or us by adding it in.
Sure.
Okay. But then the public votes at the bottom line.
So we will be in person on January 27th, anticipating we have less than 50 people,
Yes.
which is typical.
And the other thing we have to, Monica, we need to have at the beginning of our budget public hearing, that short public hearing to accept the trust fund money.
Right. Mhm.
Uh,
We have posted that.
And that's just a very 2-minute thing, it's not long. You basically just make a motion and tell them why we do it.
Right.
Will we have, Mr. Freeman before or after we go through the budget?
After.
Yeah.
The budget presentation is not expected to be a long, lengthy go item by item that night. We're gonna highlight the driving
Right,
features.
drivers,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna highlight the driving features because the budget is up 2.8%, the driving features are 2.7%. So it pretty much shows the wash if we go through those large items.
Sure.
If anybody has any questions on any other items, we can do that at the meeting.
We pretty much be under budget if the state hadn't redone the retirement.
If the state didn't do the retirement, we would be under, correct?
And Carrie, you're gonna have to have a little presentation ready for the roof. Maybe tell us about how much it will cost, that we'll have the main warrant article, and then we're gonna have a backup warrant article, right?
Yes.
I have some updated information tonight, so I'm gonna want to adjust the number, on that.
Okay. Up and down.
A little bit up.
I was hoping you were gonna say down.
Can we discuss that? When we want to discuss that? And,
We're gonna go into non-public budget items, for personnel. We can, you can always give us a new number, we can report it out.
I just got it today, so.
Perfect. So January 27th is the next meeting. That'll be, all meetings will be in the gym for now until COVID is done, everybody's vaccinated.
Can I just bring an other before you get public comments?
Well, I'm still working on the dates here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
February 8th is a joint meeting, and February 10th is the next regular school board meeting after the 27th meeting and budget here.
And I do believe the joint board is TBA, I think it has been decided as soon, but I could be wrong, my understanding is.
Yeah, it says TBA, so we don't know yet. Okay, so we're on other from the board.
Yes, we have two things. One, as you all know, we've discussed this, we do not have a school district clerk. It's been posted, that position. And just for people listening, what that position does is they do accept any applicants for those school board positions. And then when we do have a meeting, a district meeting, they take the minutes, they open the meeting, they take the minutes. Last year, our school district clerk also did a lot of work helping us become a new SAU. She had to submit a lot of documents to the state. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. So we are looking for someone. Worst case scenario, the dates have been posted for the applicants to go to town hall. It's a little application. Terry Marsh, our town clerk, can accept them, except on Fridays. Friday, the town office is closed. So if we don't get somebody who volunteers, we've got to find a way to fill that on Friday. I don't know what the date is.
29?
The 29th?
That's the last day.
Okay, so it's Friday the 29th from 3:30 to 5 or
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
I did some research, Devin. I believe that the SAU could keep someone there
Okay,
and be open those hours to accept anybody that wants to sign up for public office.
so should we just ask them to post it that way?
Yes.
Okay, so that settles it,
I'm
that's
sorry,
solved.
so say what you're posting again.
The posting would be, for the two school board positions.
There are 2 3-year school board positions.
Right, and then the treasurer,
Well, I don't know if that's the same dates available.
I thought all the dates were the same, they could be wrong.
They should all be the same date.
Okay, so the SAU needs to figure that out. I think it's Wednesday and Thursday, they can go to the town office. Do you want to still keep it that way, or do you want to get everything at the SAU?
Who's gonna do it, Terry?
Terry Marsh, I think, would be able to do that at the town office, but if you want to just do everything at the
Do
SAU.
we know that somebody is at the SAU?
Monica, can we have somebody at the SAU for those dates and times?
I'm sorry, I need one person at a time to tell me what you're asking, so I
Okay.
can hear.
Since we don't have a town clerk, our town clerk resigned and no one has been nominated or put in that position, we do have the election warrant in
Yes.
positions that are open.
Yep.
This has happened to us in the past, and when we've done it in the past, we've had someone sit in at the SAU building for those times to take any registrants for anybody that wants to sign up for those
Yes.
public office places. Now, that would mean Friday from 3 to 5 would be the last date of that week. So it'd be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I believe, of the last week in January to sign up at the SAU and pay their $1.
Mhm. Yes, we'll keep the office open and I'll make sure that someone is there.
All right, can you give us the name of that designated person this week? So
It-
we'll know who
It will probably be me, but yes, I'll make sure that you have someone.
We just need to have the posting made and, for the positions that are open, and then where people can go to file for that position, and the times and days, and it's very specific, the days have to be a certain, because I said, do we have to do it on Friday? And Mary said, you have to do it on Friday. So-
Okay.
And I believe it's Misty and I that are up this year, and those 2 positions are open right now. Or will be open
Okay.
on those dates. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Any other questions from the board?
The only other thing I was just gonna say, Missy and Aaron and I and John, we had a Zoom meeting with the person from BMSI for the financial software. We got a lot of good information, and he's gonna send us more information and to make a decision as far as like, to come to the board and say, okay, these are the 2 modules that we should get now, and then hold off, in the future for the others.
And
So,
John said it sat in as an advisor.
yes, yeah, it was really great. I invited him and he said he wanted to be there, so it was awesome.
Thank you.
And just so Linda, that was recorded, right, Aaron?
I did, yes.
So
I'll
that
share it
Linda
with
could
her.
hear it about the HR components of the software, to see what she thinks too, her input, because there's an HR component.
Anything else from the board? We'll open up the public comments. Don't all rush. Okay.
Is this on?
Yep.
Okay.
Name and address.
You want my address?
Name and address for the,
Claire Berto, 1248 Park Mountain Road, Strafford, New Hampshire, president of Strafford Rec Sports and active basketball coordinator. Wanted to give an update on our program registration and procedures to the board. We currently have 85 participants registered for the program spanning across all grade levels. We've been working with Gary Castleton on gym availability, which is Monday through Thursday afternoons and Saturday mornings. Additionally, we are coordinating around the school calendar for vacations and board meetings, so we will not be in the building during that time.
thank you.
In speaking with Principal Bulgarian today, we addressed some security concerns. And to give you an overview of kind of procedure, when players arrive, they'll enter through, I believe it is to prefer to be entered through an exterior door versus having them come into the building in the foyer area. And we will have them change their shoes in a designated area right inside the door so they do not bring any salt or dirt into the lovely new gym floor. They will answer screening questions, take a temperature check, and apply hand sanitizer at that time. Coaches will also undergo the same screening before entering the gym. Practices will be 45 minutes per group, with a 15-minute transition time for the current group to exit and the next group to check in. Players will exit through a different gym exterior door than they entered from. Basketballs will be wiped down as much as possible during practice and in between group team use. Masks will be worn throughout the duration of practice, with the exception of water breaks. Players will not be allowed to leave the gym area to gain access to the school. Kathy let me know if any of that you wanted to change. In speaking with other basketball programs in the area, there has been no noted exposure of player to player. We are looking to start the program on Tuesday, January 19th, and will conclude Saturday, March 27th.
Where will parents be?
So parents of grades K through 2, so our kindergartners, first graders, and second graders, one parent will be allowed to sit in the extended bleachers, starting with row 4 and above, and asked to, of course, wear a mask and socially distant. Parents will also be temperature checked, screened, and hand sanitized when they come in, similar to if you were to go to a doctor's office or dentist's office. And for that reason, because those grades, this is their first group kind of sports experience, and at the age level, there's a comfort factor to have mom or dad here in the audience. We also have a participant who is diabetic, so mom would be here in case of any medical emergencies without players, so I wanted to allow that exception. I haven't had that request for any other grade levels. And then since we are just purely doing skills and drills, we're not doing any games, there's no need for then the older grade levels to meet a parent here in the bleachers. And we will explain to parents that we plan to start on as much on time as possible and end on time as possible. And they know that they can wait for their kiddo at either door, text a friend, text the coach, and figure out to make sure that everybody is dropped off and picked up accordingly, and to reduce the exposure of additional people in the gym when we want as much space as possible to move around.
What if a parent drops a kid off and the kid has a temperature?
Then they will be out. They won't even be able to come in. I'm going to turn them away.
Who's going to supervise the child while waiting for the parents?
I will tell the parent that they need to come and they have to sign off on they have to be there for the screening portion. It's not drop a kid off, you have a temperature, Joni, come back and get your kids.
Right.
Okay, everybody's good, great, see you in 45 minutes.
That's what I was worried about.
Okay, good to go, thank you. Yes.
How many kiddos per pod per session per whatever?
So we have, I was actually really surprised at our numbers. We have no more than, our highest one is 13. And our lowest is 6.
Are you taking any more kids, or are you totally?
I put the brakes on this solely because we're having this meeting. And my concern was once we got over that threshold of 12 kids per team group, then it starts to get really harder to spread out and move with, a basketball that can go flying off in the corner. So I do have a few more requests that I'm validating. It's kind of been a first come, first serve. The deadline did pass, and you're asking me after the deadline, so I need to respect those who signed up before the deadline and go from there. But I don't want to exceed 12. Then that 13, I'm like, even that's kind of pushing it.
But there's always somebody out.
That's the other thing, but I can't always bank on that.
Yeah.
To then allow, up to 15, 16 kids, because at that point, I think in a school year, if we were doing school sports, that would then lead to having 2 teams.
So say if you had a 4th grader and he shows up with his 8th grade brother that wants to wait for him, is that allowed?
No.
I'm just doing scenarios
No,
that
I totally appreciate that. We were.
I've coached in the past, so I mean, yeah, these things do come up.
Yeah, no, it's parents and guardians, and we'll make it very clear that if you guys want to play, you gotta kind of play by our rules and our guidelines that we're putting out, so we can offer this opportunity.
You say afternoons, so would they leave and come back, or would they roll over from school and then get?
No, it's my understanding, and, if I'm, Kathy or, Ms. Russell, if I'm speaking out of turn, in speaking to Gary, he said we would have the gym from 4:15 to 7:15. So my understanding is by the time the buses leave and kids are picked up, the school's pretty much empty. So I didn't anticipate having kids wait around after school. The kids need to go home and come back with a parent. I'm getting a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Anything else on the board?
I'd just like to thank you for all the effort,
No doubt.
patience, and putting up with us.
It's a very thorough plan.
Very pleased.
Thank you. And I mean, I know that in the grand scheme of things, this is very low hanging fruit. I mean, talking to Kathy today, I was like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, that's just a little question. So I understand what I'm asking for. It's just so on the low on end of things. But if we can offer this for the kids, something for them to move around during the winter, see some friends, shoot a couple hoops, hopefully help those 8th graders going to Co-Brown next year that want to be on the basketball team, get to say like, okay, I got a little bit of practice in.
They have to go to summer basketball for.
That's true too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just gonna,
Oh, I didn't see
and I
you.
don't know if the board has made a decision. If we are going to go forward with rec, could I make the suggestion that we wait till the following week to give us a chance to meet with Claire and really finalize, because Gary had come up with some things and we were able to talk briefly today. But if we are going to go forward, there are some things that from the school perspective, we would like to ensure happen, and then kind of.
But not to say we can revisit it if you have concern. I thought we already voted.
We did vote. We voted several meetings ago.
Yeah, but I think Kathy, we did vote for it, but Kathy, you said you just wanted to ask for a little couple of days delay, is that what you said?
Well, I'd like to wait till the following week, and what I had said to Claire was very similar to what happened with before and after care. I actually met with Gina, and we said, okay, here are some things that we want to bring up that we want to make sure are happening. And Gina brought some things, and I think, Claire, we were able to talk about a few, but just to make sure that everyone's on the same page and what the school really needs in terms of if we're going to go forward with this, which it sounds like we are, that we can just make sure that we're doing it as safely and as best as we can.
So.
I think you two will have to talk that out because
If you, I mean, you have tomorrow and Friday, but I don't know what your schedules are, if you need more time for that.
Well, if you want to push it off to the, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but to the week after, so we're going into Martin Luther King week next week, and then whatever the following. If we can start that Monday the 25th, so then that gives us between now and then to stay with any additional details. Okay, I'm fine with waiting week. Anything? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Getting old, Mr. Gunn?
Every day.
Me too.
Hi, Alan Gum. Three things. One, I have a request when there's a meeting like this, is that the people that are speaking keep their masks on when they speak. Kind of defeats the purpose of coming to this meeting and wearing a mask. Second thing was related to the matrix and what it shows in terms of remote versus not remote. And I know it recommends remote, but you can choose not to. I understand that. The idea that the deciding factor is the fact that the hospitalization rate is really low doesn't give me comfort. It doesn't make me feel better knowing that there's an empty bed for me if I need one. So I just wanted to point that out. And the third thing with the rec, they are taking temperatures when the kids come to school. We don't do that here. We rely on the parents not to send their children to school if they have any kind of a temperature. I'm not convinced, let's be honest, that that's happening with all of our parents. That's something to discuss as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Dawn, how are you?
I'm good. Well,
I hear
Audrey Gold. I just wanted to say for the record that the SEA had written to the board because we were very concerned with last week's about to go with the hospitalization mode that Ellen was just referring to. We have followed Dr. Henson's recommendations all through the fall, right? We were watching the matrix, our contact transmission was low. It is not low now, right? So the job that we are doing, and I appreciate your gratitude in saying we're doing a great job, but it's a much harder job now. Our class sizes are larger. It is, the COVID cases are not one family cluster. We've had teachers be positive, we've had students be positive. And my own part, I haven't tested positive. I've had 2 tests and they've both been negative. But I was exposed on December 23rd and didn't get notified until a day before coming back to school in January. So my concern is, I know the system is overloaded, but we're not getting timely notification of exposure. And being a classroom teacher in a building where I go class to class to class, and the unified arts teachers go throughout the entire school. So something to consider. I know that you're in your and I get emotional, I get word recall issues, sorry. It is within your discretion to not necessarily follow the CDC and DHHS guidelines. You are certainly within your rights to make the decisions that you are, but please, please understand that on the front line, when we are going room to room, we are wearing masks, and that's a great thing. We are washing, sanitizing, the sanitation crew is doing a great job. We're doing everything we can. But it's way up now. So I know when I was reading your response, a lot of the things that you quoted in your letter, information from November. Now, I went to the New Hampshire.gov site this week to see in the COVID-19 schools, our numbers have not really been updated. The last update that is on that site for the COVID-19 schools was December 14th. Nottingham's was January 5th, and I think Northwoods was December 31st or 30th, something like that. I don't think that our situation here in Strafford is as safe as it was in November with all of the stuff we're saying is kind of from November. So I just wanted to give that feedback. And I don't know whose job it is to update that, but it would be good if we did have a Strafford update like the other schools have. Teachers are doing their best, but I know you're saying you appreciate what we're doing, but we really do need you to hear that this is a real strong concern that we have. And on another point, and it's really old, Bruce, we talked about this back in October, but we did have a staff member who wanted to join the sick bank, and you were going to discuss it, but we really haven't heard. And I would like to give that person an opportunity to join the sick bank if it is in the board's pleasure to do so. And stay safe.
The board did discuss it, we'll discuss it again.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I think that's it. Just knowing that we're not getting notified about exposure contact because the system is so overloaded is also a big concern. So when you keep us in face-to-face, we're not always knowing right away when we have been exposed. And then we expose our family members and our friends, and other people in our life that might be fragile. So I really would like the board to keep that in mind when we consider keeping us face to face. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? At this time. Cindy, nothing? Okay. All right, anything else from the board at this time?
Is it the RSA 91A:32?
It's A and, what's legal? C or L? L? Yeah, do that. So Chair would entertain a motion to go into non-public session at this time.
Make a motion to go